Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about ETC ASICs. We're going to be comparing the new Jasminer X16P to the competition. We're going to take a good overview, look at it, we're going to talk about it, we're going to compare it, we're going to discuss it, and we're going to compare what makes more sense, overall efficiency or total hash rate. Right? We're going to do some calculations, we'll see what it looks like. That way we can see what actually really makes more sense, right? So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned, all right? So let's get to it. So let's take a look at this beast, and this is what's kind of triggering this comparison. Jasminer's been on a freaking roll with these ETC miners. This thing is a monster, right? So this is the new Jasminer X16P. This guy's coming in at 5,800 megahash, right? So 5.8 gigahash at only, this is the big part, only 1,900 watts, right? So pretty astounding, especially comparing it to the competition, right? Being from Bitmain, who's usually, king of the hill. Their main guy is coming in at 3.6 gigahash, right? 3,680 megahash at 2,200 watts, right? So the Jasminer X16P not only has 2,000 megahash more, but it's at 300 less watts, right? Which is pretty insane. It's nuts, man, right? This design is also nuts. Guess you haven't checked it out. It's a triple fan design, right? So it's going to be really tall. I'm assuming most of you guys are probably going to lay it on its side, just depending on your ventilation setup. But very interesting looking miner. But again, the big thing we want to keep note of is just how much of a beast it is, right? So we're going to compare it with the E9 Pro. What we really are going to compare, though, is their other new miner, right? Because it's more comparable, or it's easier to compare to the E9 Pro, I guess. So essentially, it scales perfectly. It's a third of the X16P, right? It scales not only in efficiency, but in, pretty much hash power and wattage, and also just about price also, right? So this guy's coming in at 1950 megahash, so 1.95 gigahash at only 620 watts, right? So again, crazy efficiency. To do an easier comparison to the E9 Pro, if we were to double this guy, right? If we were to have two of them, brings us to 3,900 megahash, right? So not exactly, right? But pretty close. So again, we're just ballparking here at about 1,200 watts, right? So give or take about what an E9 Pro will do, but at half the wattage, right? And that's where it's crazy. So give or take, again, about 3,900 megahash at about 1,200 watts, right? Pretty astounding. Very impressive when you compare it like that. The big glaring difference, though, is that freaking price. Okay, you are paying a huge premium for that efficiency, right? So again, if we were to have two of these, it's gonna bring you almost $6,500, right? Versus the E9 Pro, it's coming in at $2,200. Okay, if we were to go for the lower end variants, down to under $2,000. Okay, so it's a very big difference, right? Good efficiency gain, but the problem is that price, right? So that's why, yes, it's extremely impressive. The stats are there. The price to me is the kind of the killer, right? That to me is what makes it. It's a huge upgrade, but it's not the equivalent of. I'll throw the comparison with like Cadena, right? When the KA3 was announced, the previous big guy was the KD Max, right? That guy was coming in at 40 terahash. The KA3 is 166 terahash. So it was 4x the power at the same wattage. And to me, the more mind-blowing thing than that was the price. Those KD Maxes were like 25 grand. When the KA3 was announced, it was coming in under $6,000. Okay? 4x the hash rate at a quarter of the price. Okay? Good efficiency gain with this Jasminer. Not too hot with the price though. Again, you're paying a pretty hefty premium for that efficiency, right? So when we look at it though, it is still going to be more profitable currently in the bear market, right? So we're going to look at the price. So this is at a 10-cent kilowatt hour. The X16P, which is the big guy, is going to make almost 15 bucks a day, right? So this is on ETH Fair plus ZIL, right? The X16Q is going to make about 5 bucks a day. So again, it's about a third. And again, same thing on ETH Fair plus ZIL. So 5 bucks a day there. The E9 Pro is going to come in at $3.27 a day, right? So currently, these other two are more profitable because of that efficiency. So even though the E9 Pro has more hash, the efficiency is what's keeping this guy a good amount more profitable, right? Another big caveat to consider is that these Jasminers can do ZIL. They can dual mine ZIL, right? Versus the E9 Pros cannot currently. Is it possible in the future that they may release a firmware update and they may be able to do it then? Possibly, but we're not going to factor that in because we can at the moment, right? So pretty nuts there. But again, to me, the big bummer is that price for both of them, right? Because even this guy, again, if we compare, have an even comparison, we have to have two of these, $6,500 versus the $2,200 here, right? Hefty price difference, okay? So now, let's look at a comparison between the two, right? So we're going to even it out. Let me give another caveat here. Okay, so we're going to do this comparison. This comparison is going to be only for ETH Classic. Okay, we're not going to put in the ZIL because, again, the E9 Pro cannot do ZIL. So keep in mind that the Jasminer will be more profitable because it will be also able to mine ZIL, right? So factor that in. And we're going to do it straight up for ETH Classic, okay? So another huge caveat is your viewpoint on how you're mining, right? If you are mining as like passive income, you're going to spend that money every month, then right off the bat, don't even watch the comparison because it's going to make more sense to go with the Jasminer, right? It is definitely making much more money. This guy's making in almost 15 bucks a day. There's going to be your winner. My mindset, and the only thing that makes sense realistically in the bull market, is if you're mining and you're hodling all those coins, okay? So my comparison will be for the bull market, right? So if you're in the mindset where you're going to possibly get one of these and you're hodling all your coins, because that's when you're really going to be selling, because to me, that's the only way it makes sense, right? Because if you're getting even the lower end guy, the X16Q, if you're selling your 150 bucks that you're going to earn in profit a month, doesn't really make much sense to me, right? It would make more sense to mine what you can, whether it's through this or whatever means, and just pay your electric and hodl all the coins and then sell when there's price appreciation in the bull market. When you get that 3, 5, 7, potentially 10x, depending on the coin, that's when it makes sense to sell, right? So my viewpoint is, what is it going to do in the bull market? Potentially, right? Again, this isn't financial advice. This is purely speculation, but that is how I'm looking at it. And when I'm doing these comparisons and calculations, that's kind of what I'm running, right? So although they're more profitable right now in the bear market, is that going to hold up in the bull market when it matters? When if I were to purchase one of these, that's when I'm going to be selling, right? So let's compare it with that mindset, right? So looking at ETC's current price, right? It's currently about 18 bucks, right? Previous all-time high back in 2021, let's see if we can peg it, about 133 bucks, 140 bucks, depending on where you looked at it, right? Another price jump had it at 75, okay? So it's currently at 18 bucks, right? Just for comparison's sake, just for looking at these numbers, we're going to speculate the potential of ETC potentially going to, let's say we're going to do calculations that we're thinking it's going to go to 75 bucks a coin in the bull market. Okay, so we're going to value the yield that we're getting at a $75 ETC because that's when you would be selling, right? So This is all up to you. I'm just throwing a number out. Do I think it's going to get to that point? Potentially, maybe more, maybe less. We don't know. But I'm just throwing that example for ETC, right? So we're going to go in with that mindset that we're hodling all our coins in anticipation of ETC potentially hitting that $75 mark, right? So let's look at our yield. Okay, so this is a big reason why I say it's super important to focus on your yield in the bear market, right? So let's look at it. So if we put it in a calculator, again, this is for pure flat ETC, right? 5800 mega hash, right? This is for the Jasminer at 1900 watts at a 10-cent kilowatt hour. Okay, we're going to look at it in the monthly number. Okay, so monthly, this is what we want to focus on, what our pure yield is going to be. Okay, so we're going to yield about 21.65 ETC. Okay, let's calculate it. Let's see what it would be, because it's the 395 is currently, right? But again, we're going to value our ETC as if though we're selling in 2025 in the bull market, right? So we're going to value it at that 75 bucks. Okay, so we're going to take our 21.65, we're going to multiply it by the 75, right? That's going to give us a total of 1623.75. So potentially, that's what it would be yielding in the bull market, right? But now we're going to subtract our electric, right? Our electric is coming in at 136 bucks. So we're going to subtract 136.80, bringing us to a profit of about $1,500 potentially per month, right? Not bad at all, okay? So keep that number in mind. Again, this is not going to be exact. We're just ballparking, right? We're going to do easy numbers, easy math, just so we can ballpark, right? So the Jasminer, give or take about 1,500. Now let's compare with the E9 Pro, right? The only way we can do a fair comparison is if we were to buy the equivalent, right? So in order for us to do that, it would be 4 E9 Pros would it be just about equivalent to one of these guys, right? This guy's coming in at 9,400 bucks. If we were to get the E9 Pro, they're coming in at 2,200. So let's peg it that we're buying 4 E9 Pros, right? The 4 E9 Pros would bring us right about $9,000, which is right on par with this guy, right? That way we have a fair comparison, okay? So if we were to do that, we're going to multiply the hash rate by 4. Okay, now it's going to bring us to 14,720 mega hash. Again, that's that 3680. Multiply that by 4, and that is our result. So now we're also multiplying the wattage by 4, right? So it's at 8,800 watts. Okay, so now that we have our fair comparison, now let's look at the profitability potential, right? So again, this is comparing whether it's worth it to buy one X16P or 4 E9 Pros, right? For give or take about the same price, okay? So our now monthly yield with the E9 Pros is going to be about 54 ETC, right? So again, we're going to do our bull market math, right? So 54.82 ETC. We're going to multiply that by 75, right? Because we're valuing our ETC in the bull market at $75, right? Bringing us to a total of 4,111, right? But we got to subtract the electric, and this is where it's pretty significant, right? So now our electric is $633 a month, okay? So we're going to subtract 633.60, okay? That's going to bring us to a grand total of nearly $3,500, okay? And this is where the difference is dramatic, okay? $1,500 for the Jasminer versus nearly $3,500 for the E9 Pro, okay? Yes, the Jasminer makes more sense in the bear market, but are you selling in the bear market? Are you selling right now? Does the profitability really matter right now? Yes and no, right? Ultimately, you want to be profitable, right? You want to at least be break-even or profitable. Otherwise, it makes more sense to just unplug and buy the coin, right? So I pay attention to profitability based off of that, just to see what's going to yield me more, mining or just buying the coin. Okay? Because in reality, I'm not selling right now. Everything is in speculation that hopefully we have a bull market and I'll be selling in the bull market. Okay? So yes, profitability matters now, but it's not to that extent. What I'm worried about, or what I'm doing my calculations on, what I'm concerned with, is the price potential that I can make in the bull market, because that's when I will be selling. Okay? So you really have to factor that in. Yes, these look super appealing right now, but again, it's going to be based on your goal. If you're going to be selling right now, then yes, Jasminer all day, because it's definitely more profitable. If your goal is to hodl, that's a significant difference, guys. $1,500 profit versus $3,500 profit for spending the same amount. Got to think about it, guys. And this is why I'm always telling you, focus on your yield, focus on projections, and look forward. Look into the future. Don't just worry about now. Factor in now, yes, of course, but also do calculations based off of your projections in the future. Because depending on your situation, certain things may make more sense, right? So some things to factor here, though. Number one, do you have the infrastructure to support the 4 E9 Pros, right? Are you able to support the 8800 watts? Okay, that is a lot to ask of a lot of at-home miners if you're not interested in adding that infrastructure, right? Realistically, if you're able to have two 30 amp breakers, you can do this fairly easily, even in a fairly hot climate. Again, I'm in about a climate as hot as it gets. Mine are in the garage with no window, right? Just pretty much ventilating. The ambient is, again, I'm in super hot Florida. It's freaking hot, and it's manageable, right? The sound is also manageable with inline fans, okay? But some people don't have that luxury. They cannot do that. They're in an apartment, they're in a condo. So understand that if you go with these Jasminers, you are paying a huge premium for that. Okay? Huge, huge premium. So you really got to think about those things. You got to factor those in. Versus, right, this is 8800 watts versus this guy is coming in at only 1900 watts. Right? So again, it's a lot more doable. Yes, you would still need 240 volt, but it's a lot easier to manage. It's only one unit. But is that premium worth it? In my opinion, for the way I'm handling my portfolio and my miners, absolutely not. Right? I would definitely much rather go with those. Right? The caveat being is that, for example, if I wanted to add it on, I'm just about maxed out with what I'm comfortable with electrically. Right? To me, if anything, if efficiency is your biggest concern, if anything, again, I would go with the X16Q. Why? Because it's literally just a scaled down version. Okay? And again, 600 watts. You can have this thing in a closet, in a spare bedroom. It's quiet fans. It has Wi-Fi. You can literally throw it in a closet. Something to think about. But is that premium really worth it? Right? Again, just depending on your situation. If you're in an apartment, you're a condo, you want to mine somehow, then that'll be your thing, right? But again, to me, I would definitely not pay that premium. If anything, I would look into hosting, right? Go freaking talk to Coastal Crypto. They got a freaking good kilowatt hour. If anything, I might be going that route anyway. Something to factor in, right? I know a lot of you guys are big on being at-home miners, and you know the profitability currently looks great, but again, think long-term, okay? If that premium is worth it to you, some of you guys it is, right? You want to be in the game, you want to be able to do it, then I guess, right? But for me, the way I look at things and my setup, no, I would definitely go with the E9 Pro because of the price, right? That is the biggest factor in all of this. The Jasminer machines are 100% better machines. The price is the biggest difference. If the price were to come down, it would definitely make it more appealing, right? And to me, honestly, the price is probably going to come down mainly because of the pressure from bitmain, right? Again, they've been continually lowering and lowering these things to the point where the lower end guy here on BT miners is under 2,000 bucks. This is for a new machine. And keep in mind, depending on how the market goes, a lot of the Telegram and WhatsApp vendors have it even lower currently. They have the lower end variant. There's one more lower end. I forget if it's the 3380 or 3280, but they have that guy at like 1,500 bucks right now. Okay? Meaning that there's still potential for these guys to go even a tad bit lower. Okay? But right now with this pump, might put a pause on things. Right? But again, purely speculation, but been speculating that they're going to drop the price of this guy just to combat that Jasminer, because again, they can't compete on the efficiency front, but they can definitely put a tear in them with the price, right? And that's what they've been doing, right? So depending on how those Jasminers sell, they may be forced to lower the price, because again, when we do these calculations, long-term wise, it's just the Jasminer's too expensive, right? They were to bring this big guy down into like the 6 to 7K range, which seems doable, right? To me, it just seems more greed that they have it even up this high, right? Because like the X16Q, from when it was originally announced to now, has dropped a good amount already, right? And it's continuing to go down. Even other vendors have it lower, like Jingle Mining, which is one of their biggest vendors, is at 3250. Even just like on BT miners, they have it lowered down to $3,000, right over 3,000 bucks, 3015, right? Realistically, depending on how they sell, they could potentially even go lower, right? Because as soon as they drop even a little bit more, let's say they go down to 2,500, it becomes massively more appealing at that point. Because then at that point, if the E9 Pro stay at the same price, right, for the 3680 model, then it's almost, about the same price. Then it makes you think about it more, right? But again, if they lower it and this thing goes down into the $1,500 range, if Jasminer doesn't lower their price, it's not going to be looking good, right? Again, depending on your viewpoint. For me, no go, because of the price point. For you, if you're in an apartment and again, you're dead set on mining in your place, then I guess it may be worth the premium. But just understand that with these Jasminers, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. Make sure you're doing your calculations depending on how you're looking at it. Again, if you're looking for daily profit, you're selling every day, or you're selling once a month or whatever, then these are more profitable, yes. But if your goal is to hodl and do it in the bear market, again, we saw the difference. Massive difference. 1,500 bucks to 3,500 bucks for the same price. Okay? Some things to think about. And again, this is not an exact comparison either, because again, the Jasminer can do ZIL, so factor that in. But again, it's more than double the profit. So that's why the ZIL isn't gonna, more than double your profit like that. Yes, it'll be maybe 20% more. Let's exaggerate, say 40% more. It's still a huge difference, right? So again, some things to consider, some things to factor. Hopefully we see price drops. I think they will, right? I've seen this guy already significantly lower from other vendors. These guys are 9,500. To me, they're just price gouging because of the efficiency. This guy, it's at a lower price point. And again, freaking this guy at 9,400 and this guy at 3,000. It would 100% make more sense to just get 3 of these things, right? They kind of have it backwards, and that's another sign that they're kind of like price gouging with the big guy. Typically, you pay a premium on the scaled down version, right? If this guy truly is worth 9,500, this guy should be at like 4,000. 3,500, 4,000 should be more. It shouldn't be cheaper for you to buy 3 of these guys versus 1 of these guys, right? So personally, if it doesn't sell too well, expect the price to go down. Another thing to factor in is that because of this price point, it's not really appealing to anybody, right? Reason I say that is that this is not appealing to the typical at-home miner, right? Because the number one, the wattage, right? It's at 240 volt. The other thing is just the crazy price point, right? $9,400. That is extreme for an at-home miner. Okay, this is also not going to appeal to farms, because just like we did with this comparison with the E9 Pro, they're going to buy cheap E9 Pros all day long, because again, they're like at a sub 5 cent kilowatt hour. Okay, the efficiency again is great, but when your revenue is so much more with E9 Pros, they're gonna stack E9 Pros all day. Okay, so that's why this one is in such a weird position, because again, it's not really appealing to at-home miners, and it's not really appealing to farms. Okay, so another thing to think about is that, again, to me, it's extremely likely that in the next couple of months, we're going to see some pretty good price drops on this, because I don't see it selling too well. Again, all day, if you're in that point, this is a much better buy, right? At least at the current prices. And again, even this guy to me is still overpriced. So factor in that this guy's already been dropping and may drop even more, right? 2,500, 2,200, we'll see. And again, we don't know about prices because again, we've had this pump. Maybe we continue to pump. Maybe we dump. We don't know. A lot of speculation. You got to do these kinds of calculations and see what just makes sense, right? There's so many factors, so many variables. Some things to think about, guys, right? And whether it's this miner or any other miner that comes out, you have to look at these efficiency differences and do your projections for when you're planning on selling, right? Again, you have to look at these things. You have to really think about these things because it's a lot of risk with these ASICs. It's not like GPUs where you just jump around algorithms. You are locked into this thing. Okay, and as we've seen, prices can go from 1.1 day and a third of that the next day, right? Just because of a new release coming out. All right. Just wanted to give you guys some things to think about, especially if you're thinking about getting one of these miners, and in reality, any ASIC miner, right? This is going to be a pretty relevant discussion you're going to have kind of within yourself when you're comparing different miners as new models come out, right? Because we're always going to see that evolution. There's always going to be upgrades. There's always going to be better miners, but you have to see if the price comparison makes sense, right? Even if looking at current profitability, you got to think in the future, right? Because again, even like with this KS3, right? Making $3 grand a day, 30 grand, sign me up. But you have to look at the future and what's your profitability going to be like once all of these hit the network. Drastically different. Okay, so I want to get you guys in that mindset of like looking at that. Don't just go on mine the ASIC and, all right, I'm going to pick number 2 because I can afford that one and it's second most profitable. Done. No, look at your projections. Look at what you think that coin is going to hit. Look at when your time frame of selling is going to be, right? Just a lot of variables, a lot of things to consider, a lot of things to factor, guys, right? Let me know. Let me know if you're one of the few who have pre-ordered one, if you got the 16P, or if you're getting the Q, or if you think it's just way overpriced, right? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you guys have that same mindset. Let me know what you're thinking. All right, guys, please comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, guys, and I am out.